The Flicks Book Club.
The
Na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
Book Club.
Yeah, I'm not doing this. Hey, welcome to the Flicks Book Club. My name's Steve McDonald.
I'm Casey Aurora.
Hey, it's Dennis Rooney.
The movie that we watched this week was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It's from 2002. It was directed by Mr. George Clooney.
Mm-hmm.
It's from a book written by Chuck Barris, and the screenplay was actually done by Charlie Kaufman,
Yeah.
who did Adaptation and Being John Malkovich,
Right.
and a number of other weird movies that are all kind of delightful.
Mm-hmm.
The movie is about it's adapted from the memoir of Chuck Berry.
The unauthorized biography.
The
Autobiography.
Not
Authorized
Chuck Berry. Chuck Barris. Chuck
I'm
Berry's a
sorry.
famous kid. This would be a totally different movie.
That's
Right.
true. Or it was a really unauthorized autobiography.
It really took a lot of privilege with the
Took
story
a
of
lot
Chuck
of privilege.
Berry.
Didn't even
Story of
ask.
Chuck Berry. It's the story of Chuck Barris. He was the creator of The Dating Game. He also created The Newlyweds and The Gong Show. Those are kind of the big ones that he had, but he also had another like 20 shows.
Yeah.
He was kind of the king of the game show in the 70s.
Right.
60s and the 70s, I would probably
Yes.
say. And what this story entails is that he was secretly a CIA operative spy who was tasked with killing people all over the world for the CIA.
Assassination, Stephen, please.
Yes. Assassinations,
Right.
if you will.
If you were to put it in one word.
If
Right.
we were to put it in one word.
An assassin.
To
An
kill
assassin.
to kill a guy.
So the story takes place over the course of essentially his entire adult life, from when he got like kind of brought into this world of that he could be an assassin to kind of the end of his run of game shows,
Right.
which the last big one was The Gong Show.
Mm-hmm.
And the big thing to me that I think is interesting is that nobody knows if this is true or not,
Right.
because the government won't say anything. He wrote this thing, and
Is this why
nobody
you
knows.
picked it?
No, the reason why I picked it is because I've seen it before,
Right.
and I know that Dennis wanted to see it, and I just like it as a movie. Like, I
Sure.
think it's a really good movie. I've thought that since I initially saw it.
Right.
So I wanted to bring something that I enjoyed to the podcast.
Uh-huh.
So my vote is stream it. I think it holds up. from
Dennis?
when I saw
No,
it.
you first.
Why?
Casey.
I called you out first.
You can't just call me out
Yeah, I
first. I have a
can.
set opinion set in stone about this film. You're not going to sway me, so go ahead.
Okay, I said don't stream it.
This guy.
Why?
I just, everything about this movie tells me, everything about the movie says I should like it, but I just wasn't, I don't.
It wasn't quite Noah.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was Noah. I just think that I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
We'll
in
get
mind-
to your opinion.
Last week, Casey was the only one to say Noah. give it a
Okay, and
stream
what
it.
do you say about this movie?
Hard to stream it. This is a
Right.
great movie.
Yeah, I know you
It
would
was a
like
really
it.
fun movie.
Right.
It's really good. I can't wait to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be back in just a sec.
Also, check out flicksbookclub.com. Go.
The penalty for this disgusting, un-American behavior is 1 year in prison or $10,000 fine or both. Anyone making a sick, submersive remark tonight will be arrested immediately. I then will personally escort the offender to federal prison for booking under edict number 364 of the Broadcasting Act of 1963. And it's a long drive to that prison, baby. Just you and me.
And we're back. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm not letting you go into why you hated it first.
Right.
I'm going into why I want to know why Dennis liked it. I
Okay.
wanna know, I
That's,
want to
that's
know
fair.
initially.
That's fair. Usually it
why
starts with
Dennis
me
liked
ranting
it.
and raving.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
I'm not letting you kill this movie off the bat. We're not going to get.
This movie was Clooney's directorial debut, and I don't know if I've seen other movies that he's directed, but now I want to.
Good night and good luck.
Never seen it.
Never seen it either.
But this movie, you know how a lot of movies, not a lot, but sometimes you see a movie and I'll have a gripe about it where I'll say, this movie tried to do a lot of things and it didn't do any of them right. Like, it didn't put all its eggs into any baskets. It was spread too thin. This movie tried to do so many things. There were 7 different styles of film, I felt like, in this movie, and they were all great, and they were woven together fantastically. And it was paced well. It looked great. Sam Rockwell is amazing.
Oh, Sam Rockwell's incredible.
I think he's one of the
Yeah.
best actors of our
hands down.
generation. He's not my
He's-
generation, but you know.
Right.
Yeah, Sam Rockwell is definitely like, I feel like he's gotten a lot excuse me. He's gotten a lot more that like limelight recently. Like people are paying attention to him more because he was in Moon and he was in the second Iron Man movie, and he was kind of fun in that, so it was at least like he got a bigger audience to pay attention to him. But he is an underrated actor.
And a fantastic dancer. Every movie he's in, he throws that in. Someone pointed that out, I think, on Reddit, and now every time I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, he's dancing. He's always dancing. He's a
Right.
great dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah, this. I'm a little surprised that you didn't like this movie. I know that you like to dislike good things.
No, I don't. It's not the case. It's not the case. I watched the movie and I was like, oh, okay, all right. You know, the cinematography is good.
The cinematography is gorgeous.
Yeah, that was good. You know, Sam Rockwell, absolutely incredible. You know, really does an amazing job when he starts to unravel.
Okay, did you think the story was cool?
The story was even cool too. It's
All right, so we got a cool story, great actors, and a great direction and shooting style and cinematography.
Right.
So what happened?
What happened? You just named like all the things in the movie. The costumes were really good. I had a problem with the makeup. They
Right.
looked too like normal people.
I've got 2 words for Drew Barrymore. Just the biggest. No, she was even fine.
Even she was. I mean,
Yeah,
she
she was
just plays
fine.
Drew Barrymore, the
Right.
cute, kind of.
Yeah.
But she did great.
It would have been more fun, I will say, and I know this isn't like what the book was, but it would have been way more fun if I found out that Drew Barrymore was the mole by the end.
Right.
If it was like I'm a spy also, I would have been
I-
like, oh, twist.
I wouldn't have liked that. That would have ruined it for me.
You know,
because
the
that
thing
would have
is,
taken. That's what's the cool. Another cool thing about this movie is, like Steven said, it just plays enough where it's like, yeah, this could be true. If
Yeah,
a guy has a
right.
high enough profile in Hollywood and he was a CIA killer, the government wouldn't really be able to do anything about it, probably, because he's now put everything down on paper.
Well, and they also the most hilarious thing to me is that when you actually look into like the dating game where they took them to like these weird countries, is that they took them to weird countries. They didn't take them. It wasn't like you're going to Hawaii.
Yeah, it was like
you're going to West Germany.
West Germany. That was
Right.
so funny that
Yeah.
like
It was
because
just
I didn't
like,
even think about it
why?
until they get there and you just see them walking around miserable in West Germany.
yeah, that's great. And you know, the thing is, it's everything about the
Excuse me.
yeah, everything
Excuse me.
about the movie is solid. It's just, you know, man. First of all, the ending, I didn't really care for the ending. I just kind of like nothing really happens. He just kind of. He's like, yeah, he tells Drew Barrymore when he decides to finally settle down with her, oh, you know, I've killed several people, and I've worked for the CIA, and she
More
just,
than several.
Yeah,
Many,
like
many people.
33 people, and she just laughs it off like it's nothing, and he goes from being completely unhinged into a hotel room and just decides to clean up his life and get married. And you know, it's like, all
Because
right,
nothing happens. He freaks out. He locks himself up in the hotel room. He's kind of
Right.
waiting for what's going to happen. And, you know, it all kind of fizzles out. And then at his wedding, he sees guys who look very suspicious. They were other assassins, I believe.
or people who died, people who
people
died.
who were dead. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
And the big question throughout the entire movie, like when you get to this idea of like nobody knows if this is true or not, is whether like Chuck Barris is just messing with the entire audience of this book.
Right.
Where he's just like, you know what would be really fun?
Yeah.
Is if I did this. Or if he literally has mental problems and he thinks that he did all these things, much in the same way of like A Beautiful Mind or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there's people that he talks to that don't exist. And then there's also this question as to whether it's like he was just on drugs the whole time.
Well, he definitely had like a drug and alcohol problem, which
Right.
they didn't really
Yeah.
go into.
No,
and
they
I'm
didn't.
happy they didn't, because sometimes it's just.
Because why get to the reality of the situation when we could completely?
into the reality.
I'm just saying. Shut
Well, no,
up.
no. I mean, the thing
No,
is,
because you don't need to always see. It's almost like a crutch now that like so many characters have drug and alcohol problems.
Right.
Even superheroes now have like drug and alcohol problems.
That's true.
I don't always need it. The guy was a Hollywood dude in the 70s. Yeah, he's drinking a lot and he's probably doing blow and all kinds of stuff. I don't
Yeah.
need to dilute the story with that.
And
you know
Sam
what I mean?
Rockwell does a great
I
job
have
of
to-
characterizing
I have
that
to
really
admit,
well.
when you bring up the idea of a bunch of people in the 70s doing blow in Hollywood, I literally had a moment where I was like looking around during the wedding scene, being like, "Where is Shep Gordon?" there
Where was Shep?
Like throughout
Yeah.
the entire thing, I was like, "These guys had to know each other."
Of course,
and party
they had to
together.
run in the
Probably.
same circle.
Like they had to run in the same circles.
The
because it's
Supermensch.
too amazing.
yeah,
Um,
probably gave
to
the
me-
best wedding gift.
Probably.
Yeah.
to me, like I think that is that thing of like we don't know whether it's real made the movie fun because it took this story of just like the guy who ran these kind of things and it just was like, wait a minute,
Right.
what? Like it just turned the complete thing on its head of being like, this is the most insane story ever if it's true.
An all-star cast that are doing a really good job at being supportive, you know, in terms of their roles. George Clooney plays the CIA contact
Jim,
Yeah.
yep.
who recruits Chuck Barris.
Which, by the way, the man looks good with a mustache.
Right. Oh, he looks incredible.
He looks good with or without
With
a
anything.
mustache.
He looks good all the time, but
Yeah.
I had a moment. Some people cannot pull off a mustache well.
Right.
And George Clooney
He looks kind of like a faithful, loyal. It's funny that you brought this up. He looks like a faithful, loyal dog with a mustache. Like there's
Yeah.
there's the scene where he's
I
sitting
get
on the
that.
diving board and he's kind of just got this face kind of scrunched
Yeah.
up. He just looks like he's
an
about to go.
old Yeah.
like
like
that's
an
all
old
he's gonna
Scottish
offer up.
terrier.
Yeah, exactly.
That's- yeah.
Perfect. A Scottish Terrier. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what it is.
Maybe that might have been his inspiration in terms
Maybe.
of playing the role. You know, like sometimes they take upon animals as like character things.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, it's just it's a good movie by all accounts. I just can't. I don't know, man. There was just something about it that just didn't really kind of make me go, "Oh, this is a movie I'd recommend to people."
I would totally
watch.
recommend this movie to people. How are you
Yeah.
going
I
to
would-
recommend Noah to people and
see,
not this movie?
I
This-
would recommend. This is my thing is I would recommend this movie to people simply
Right.
because there's certain aspects of it where it's like after I watched it the first time as a filmmaker, I looked at it and I was like, there are such good directorial moments in this that I have to know how they did it.
Yeah.
And so all of the different stuff where there's a number of scenes where like Sam Rockwell is pacing back and forth and there's a dolly shot that's just tracking him going back and forth and then the set will change behind him.
Right.
Like there's a moment when there's been a painting on the wall or whatever and then the dating game gets picked up on the phone and he comes back and there's like the whole dating game set there.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he comes back to the left and then they come back and the wall is back. All of that was done practically.
oh, of
Okay.
course.
They
yeah.
literally built a wall that moved and moved everything out of the way and then had the whole set behind it. The entire thing where they're like coming towards a door and it opens up and they're at like the newlywed game or whatever. Like that, all of that was done
The scene
practically.
in which George Clooney is Jim is talking to Chuck about, you know, you got to find the mole, and George Clooney is sitting on the diving board, and then it's slowly revealed that he's actually been shot and he's been killed
and he's bleeding
and
out.
he's bleeding out, and the pool is covered with blood. That image is great. It's
I had a little
fantastic.
problem with that scene.
Why?
It looked cool. It definitely looked great and stuff. But when that happened, they choose to not show you Barris shooting Jim. It just cuts over, like from over Jim's shoulder, and then cuts to Chuck's perspective, and then you see blood in the pool, presumably bleeding down his leg through his pant.
I didn't know that.
Stuff like
No,
this
no,
will
no.
bother me in a
Wait, Chuck
film.
wasn't. I didn't think Chuck shot him.
Chuck didn't.
Yeah.
He was already shot.
Right.
And he was sitting on the diving board and Chuck Barris thought that he was there to kill him.
Yeah.
And so he was holding a gun to
I don't
him.
think that's true. Why do you think that he was already shot when he got there? Where did he come from? How, he gets shot and he goes to Chuck Barris's house to sit on the diving board?
Yeah.
Because-
to tell him-
To give him this message, possibly bleeding out before Chuck Barris gets there?
Because
I'm pretty sure Chuck shoots him, but they just shot it in a way where it's like...
because what's her face? Oh my god.
Julia
Roberts,
Roberts.
who's also in the movie and does a great job.
yeah.
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 Everybody really does a great
Yeah,
job.
they all
in this
do a
movie.
really solid
You
job.
know who
Which
did
to
a bad
me-
job?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Right. That's I guess me for not liking it.
I mean, that's my main thing. Like, there's such great little jokes and stuff like that. Also, just hidden
Very
throughout
funny.
the entire thing, where
Yeah.
like when they're playing the dating game, and the guy who ends up being a Russian spy
Yeah.
is that it's like they pan past the two people that that the lady is not picking, and it's Brad Pitt
Yeah.
and
Matt
and
Damon.
Matt
Yeah,
Damon.
yeah, yeah. Fantastic cameos. Yeah.
Well, and I love that when I look at the movie throughout it, I just had this moment where I was watching it and I was just like, man, he was making this at the same time as Ocean's 11. Like, because all of these
right.
different people were like lightly involved, you know, like they were in Ocean's 11. And he also has said in different interviews George Clooney's whole thing is that he'll sign on for movies that are these huge blockbuster pictures so that he can get other movies made.
Yeah.
Like he made Ocean's 12 so that they would give him money to make Good Night and Good Luck
Right.
and release it. And he made Ocean's 13 for some other movie where it was like he wanted releasing for Syriana or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and he just does
like
these
horse
things-
traded it where he was like, okay, I'll do this movie for you. I'll take less money on it.
He's an artist.
but you have to
Yeah.
release
Yeah, he's
this
an artist.
thing.
A lot of people took pay cuts. I think Julia Roberts, like everyone.
I'm sure he just called up his friends.
Yeah, yeah,
Matt
I mean, at
Damon
that
and George
point-
Clooney are friends. Julia Roberts, I'm sure they're friends. It's just like, hey, Julia. I mean, like, this is. She had a more involved scene in this. She plays one of the assassins as well, and it's later revealed that she's the mole.
Yeah.
And
See, the two scenes I had problems with just from the way they shot it, and probably me being a dummy, is one, and I'm still not sold on that Jim was shot when he got there, and Chuck Barris comes across him. I think Chuck shoots him, but they don't show him shooting him. But
Yeah.
also, after he's bleeding into the pool enough, and he's still sitting on the diving board. He should be falling over. He should be in the pool or something. These are minor things.
no,
but
he's
these are my
slumped over. He's
hang-ups, though.
slumped over his center of gravity.
He's slumped over, but a guy shot and now presumably dead on a diving board is
dying, not dead. He's dying.
At that point, when you see the blood, because when we get there, there's no blood in the pool.
right?
Well,
but-
and also they might have shot. I mean, to be completely honest, they may have shot an entire sequence where he fell into the pool, and then there were like gorgeous shots of him like sinking to the bottom with blood and
Yeah,
everything like that,
right.
and then they just cut it out of the movie.
Yeah, they
I
might
mean,
have had a shot,
but
of
you could be-
them explaining who shot Jim,
right.
and cut it
They
out to
may
be
have,
like,
I
screw
don't
these
know.
people,
Yeah, that's
let them talk about
It's
it.
just some guy standing there reading production notes, and George like, we should probably edit this out. Yeah, it's
Well,
a bad idea.
and-
Yeah,
and-
that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
and the
It's
other
Don
scene-
Cheadle reading production notes.
The other scene I had an issue with was the one of the last scenes with Julia Roberts, where we find out she's the mole, and
Right.
she goes to poison him.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they show it is that she sets down the tea,
Right.
he switches it because he sees it coming,
Mm-hmm.
but then she switches it back, and then they drink their respective teas, and she dies. Like, he fakes the death, and she really dies.
No. What he does
What
is
happened there?
What he does is that
I watched it
instead
twice.
of-
I rewound it. I still didn't get it.
instead of switching the cups, he makes it look like he switched the cups, so that she looks at it and goes, he switched the cups, and
Right.
she switches it back, and then she actually switches the
it.
cups.
Okay.
Right.
So
all he
she
did was
ended
just
up with the poison one.
all he did was just turn the milk around, but not rotate the tape, rotate the thing. And so this way it looks like the
And he
table's
moved
been
the
turned.
sugar cube.
And he moved the sugar cube. So this way the indicator was that. So then when she switches it back, that's what makes him go. You know what I mean? Like, you had to think about it a couple times, because it's sort of like in Die Hard 3 when they try to figure out you got to get 4 gallons of water between the 3-gallon jug and the 5-gallon
I
jug.
mean, I wouldn't
they
compare
do that.
those two.
They do that wrong, by the way,
Oh, well,
in
that's
the movie.
Oh,
You mean
okay.
they answer it wrong, or they actually, when you see them physically doing it with the jugs, it's wrong? Like,
They answer the problem wrong in that movie. That's a completely
I
different
don't think
thing.
that's true either, Steven.
No, that I don't agree with.
Yeah, I
but,
don't agree with that
But
either.
and that's something we had to discuss off cast.
Okay, a couple of philosophical questions I got for you guys.
I love it when you get philosophical on us.
Now, he says that he gets picked for this CIA assassin internship thing because he fits the profile.
Yes.
Because his mom raised him as a girl for the first couple of years until...
George Clooney brings us up towards the end of the movie when Jim, his character, is dying and sitting on the edge of the pool.
Yeah.
Just so that
Yeah.
people know.
Listen, I want to tell you about your childhood, but I don't want to tell you who shot me just now.
Right.
I have a hang up with that. I don't think
I don't
Chuck
think
shoots him.
that he.
And I don't want to go on about
he
it.
doesn't
either.
know
I'm sorry.
because he says you gotta find the mole. If he has his last few minutes of dying and he's like, hey, listen, you gotta find the mole. I know who it is, but let's keep this game going, huh? It doesn't make sense. for
That's
him-
what I'm saying. I think Chuck shoots him.
Yeah, but then he would have shot Chuck. You know, he's still sitting there after the bleeding is happening. It doesn't make sense.
Do you
Well, because I think that's why he was shot when he got there. Is that, and Julia Roberts brings it up. Is that Julia Roberts says that George Clooney's character thought the mole was Chuck,
Right.
and so what happened was that he got shot, went to Chuck's house, and was essentially like, "You're not the mole."
Yeah, but why would he get shot and go to Chuck's house? If he has the time and energy to go to Chuck's house, go get fixed up. You're an assassin.
Yeah, but he's been shot gravely. The injury.
Gravely, but he's got time to go and let me get situated on this diving board here.
I'm gonna be
so
honest.
It looks cool.
I'm gonna be honest.
You know, I'm not gonna go in and lay down on the couch or
Right.
get in the bathtub where
I'm
this
gonna
could
be
help
honest,
out a little bit. I'm gonna get situated on this diving board, make it look real cool. Oh, let me turn on these low lights here for him, so that when he comes home, he knows to come in. No, I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll be honest. Him sitting there at the edge of that diving board. A diving board's a very shaky piece. It's a plank, man.
yeah, this guy's shot and he's walking around under the diving board.
And he's not
but
bleeding
most
anywhere
diving
else.
Boards,
Yeah.
Most diving boards on at personal in-ground pools are really crappy and they're really stiff. Okay,
That's true.
And it's him like saying, he's like, all right, cool, I'm gonna sit here and wait. And there's
Like, God forbid he sat down and then he was like, oh, I gotta take a piss.
yeah.
That's like, how are you gonna
Well, I
stand
mean,
back
at that
up?
point,
Or he
just
fell
piss your
in
pants.
and he had to get like a change of clothes from the trunk
What
of his
if-
car.
What if that's what it cuts to? It cuts
Yeah.
from back over Jim's shoulder to Barris's perspective, and Clooney's just like, he's got his thing out, just piddling in the pool
Yeah.
silently instead of the blood.
Yeah.
All right, so hold on. So Chuck Barris fits the profile of a killer because his mom raises him as a girl, and he's got, he's kind of he's not really a sexual deviant, but he's a horny dude.
Well, he's
And,
got he has issues.
He's got issues.
I don't think the sexual deviancy is what makes him fit the profile
No,
of a
I think it's
serial
like
killer.
a side effect of the mom thing.
Yeah, but I think then a lot of people have that aspect. Not being raised as a girl, but I think that like people have like sexual deviances, but that doesn't make them. I mean, it's like a small ingredient, man. It's like
Yeah,
the,
well, no, what
it's
I'm
like
saying
the
is
nutmeg
The
of
mom,
ingredients.
the mom being insane and raising him as a girl for a while makes him a great killer, but it
Right.
also makes him a little bit of a sexual deviant. I don't really think he is a sexual deviant.
Yeah, I don't think so
But
either.
the first thing you do see is a young Michael Cera as Chuck Barris getting this other like 9-year-old girl to try and lick his thing because it
Right.
tastes like strawberry ice cream, which comes up back again with a fantastic joke. He goes to her place, knocks on the door, and she's like, well, if it isn't Strawberry Dick Barris.
Right.
And then he goes, I was just in town. I was just wondering, maybe if you wanted to go out for some ice cream.
Yeah.
She slams the door.
Because she's holding a baby,
Yeah.
which is great.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, no, and I think that is actually it's not the strictly the raising him as a girl, and it's not strictly the like a sexual deviancy thing. What he's talking about throughout that entire opening is nobody ever loving him,
Right.
and nobody ever wanting him.
And he says, will these creatures ever want me the same way I want them? And it
Yeah.
just shows him having a lot of trouble with the ladies.
and essentially like what they kind of like circle back with, where it's like he's at one point he's like with a prostitute who's singing him happy birthday and then raising
Yeah.
a veil, and then you find out by the end that that's supposed to be his mom. Is that it's kind of this thing of like throughout his entire life he's never gotten like a proper amount of love from any female character or like female presence in his life, which I think is supposed to be the thing that kind of like sparks him as being something that is like he doesn't have any ties to anybody. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't seem like he wants a wife because he's actively trying to like just consistently get approval from women around him is supposed to be the thing that like makes him right for being
No,
an assassin.
I thought the major thing was the fact that his mom had an affair with a serial killer was the major thing.
I think they were just kind of alluding. I mean, he didn't know that.
Yeah,
as
he
a
didn't know
kid.
that, but that's I know he didn't
He
know
just
that.
finds out later, and I think it's one of those things where it's like,
You think
it's kind of in your blood, kid.
You think
know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they're covering both bases of nurture versus nature.
Yeah, I think they're just
that's what
Yeah.
they're doing. So it's kind of like, oh hey, you've got all these things, and then in one aspect it's like, oh yeah, also you're the son of a serial killer,
Yeah.
and I think
Well,
it
and
kind of
also-
felt like it was thrown in a way. You
They
know what I
also
mean?
bring in that moment when he's talking to the other assassin who he takes a picture of while strangling
that
the
was a
guy
great
in
scene.
skis, which is an amazing scene.
Right.
But when the two of them are sitting in the bar before the guy quote unquote kills himself,
Yeah.
is that when they're sitting in a bar, the guy brings up like, why do we do what we do? Like, why do we enjoy killing?
Yeah.
And he has this entire thing of like it started in World War II, and he killed people, and then
He equates his first kill to his first time making love.
yeah, and that it's like the rush and the thrill of the entire thing of his first kill, and he remembers every single thing about it, and that he could never get that back, and was always kind of chasing after that. And and the funny thing is that that's kind of the thing that it's, you know, almost in an addictive way is the thing that follows throughout Chuck Barris's story is that he like can never fully come to grips with the first person that he killed.
Yes.
Where it's
right.
they consistently come back to the first guy that he killed in Mexico, and which is, by the way, an amazing set of scenes.
Yes.
I
and
love
the
that he's
flashbacks to it are great too.
yeah, and the flashbacks to it are great, and all of these different, you know, devices that were used. You know, this movie uses flashbacks amazingly.
Right.
Like Charlie Kaufman manages to, you know, he jokes about it in the movie adaptation where flashbacks are like stupid and internal monologue is stupid. And
Maybe
but,
it's just him calling himself out in a hilarious way. If you think
well,
about
no,
it.
and that's kind of what it is
Right.
that like Charlie Kaufman's just really good, is just a really good writer.
Well, those things can be used cheaply, but they're not in this film.
No,
you
and
know?
that's the thing is that they're like everything is kind of woven together really beautifully, which is always like that's always the thing that I loved about it was that to me the movie is very balanced in like it's not just about an assassin, it's not just about a guy, it's not just about a game show host, it's not just about like this like, you know, devolving into insanity that this guy has, is that it's very nuanced in its approach, but all of the different parts create a much stronger whole.
Yeah, he really does. Like I said earlier, I mean, this film has a lot of different feelings to it. There's times where I was like I wouldn't say I was near tears, but there were times that really got to me. There were times that were super dark when his mom, when you find out that he was raised as a girl, that's kind of like, that's dark. And it was a very serious
Yeah.
scene. And then there's really lighthearted, funny scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's well balanced.
What's an example of a lighthearted funny scene?
I got one on my hip ready to go. And the
Right.
best part about it is it's an actual clip from the dating game. They
Okay.
throw it in when a woman is asked, it might have been the Newlywed Game.
It's the
Where
Newlywed
was the
Game.
Is the Newlywed Game?
It's the Newlywed
Where
Game.
is the strangest place you've ever felt the urge to make love? And she goes, in the ass.
Right. Yes.
And like stuff like that. I mean, Drew Barrymore being so dumb and trying to put Interpret on the like it's a great, I don't know, man. I really like this film.
I think, you know, one of the best things, like, with this mixture of, like, funny and dark that they have is that almost every time that he kills somebody,
Yeah.
there's something hilarious around
Yeah.
it. Like the first guy in Mexico is that he's like trying to speak to him and like where he's like he like can't speak Spanish and is trying to like no wait and he's like using wrong words and stuff like that and then pulls a gun on him. The guy that he kills where they hand off the package in the alleyway is that he raises the gun up and hits the guy in the face with it. And you can't even see it
that was
happening.
really funny.
And he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry about your teeth," and then shoots him. Is that it's like I love that, like, you know, with the guy with the skis, is that it's ridiculous. And
The whole
hilarious.
aspect is watching him get killed, and the only action you see is through the skis.
Yeah.
And that's it. You don't see like the murdering happening. You just see it acted out through the guy's response by his feet, which is incredible.
Yeah, and I think to me,
You know,
that's,
there's a lot of incredible things in this movie, Casey, for a movie
Right.
you don't like.
Yeah, no, you know what the thing is, and I'm thinking about how the best way to describe it to this, why I don't feel like this, I would recommend this movie to people. It's
I can't look at you, man.
it's
You're
like
such a jerk.
it's like you sit there. It's like going to a nice restaurant, and it's like the setting of the restaurant's great. The table construct is solid.
George Clooney's at the next table.
It's not a wobbly table whatsoever. Don Cheadle gives you a nod from the bar.
Raises his glass. Hey, Cheadle.
Yeah, and what's it called? The food is fantastic. The plating is great. All those things. And then you get the bill, and you're like, it wasn't really worth it. And that's what I think the ending to me kind of does. And I never felt like the ending was, you know how
I'll give you that. I
we've
think the
always
ending could have
discussed
been a
that.
little bit better.
You know how we've always discussed,
Yeah,
like,
ending is important.
man, I never agreed with that aspect. I've always said if the whole movie is solid, you can forgive the ending. And the whole movie is solid, but the ending for me took me so out of it. It was like getting that bill, and I'm like, was it really worth the price? You know, not the I mean, the movie doesn't cost us anything.
If I'm going to run with your metaphor, I'd
Right.
say it's like getting the bill and being like, it's only $80?
Yeah.
I wonder what we just ate.
Right.
What was in that? But I liked it. I liked
Yeah,
that it was
you
$80 because
you
I'll
felt
be
like
like,
you-
hey, I got a deal.
You felt like you got a deal. I felt like it wasn't worth it. And that's what the thing is. So there's nothing wrong realistically.
You cheap, bro.
Yeah, I'm not cheap.
I
It's
will-
not the
no, no, no,
not
no.
the financial aspect. You know? It's not the money.
I will admit that I think that had there been a moment where they got married and he was freaking out and was like, go, go, go,
Right.
in the car, and then he just sat and still didn't say anything,
Right.
then I would have... It would have been much more powerful,
Right.
in like the idea of him having to like hold all of that in still.
Yes.
This is my only thing is
Wait,
is
does the
that
Julia Roberts scene happen before marriage or after?
before.
And then wait, and the movie ends. What's the last scene?
I think the very last scene is them in the car.
The very last scene is them in the car, but then they bring up Chuck Barris.
Oh, yeah.
Like the old,
Right.
like old man Chuck Barris. 'cause
Yeah.
he's still alive. I think he's still alive now.
He is, and it's just I don't know if they made it seem like he was more haunted by his demons than the way that they kind of like, all right, well, I killed people, and she just kind of laughs it off.
I think that what it comes down to is, and what they were trying to say with that last scene and show was that the way that they constructed him falling in love,
Yeah.
and him deciding that he was going to settle down,
Right.
and be with this woman, was that last moment was him finally having somebody who he felt would understand and love him no matter what.
Right.
That he could sit down and he could go, I have this terrible secret that has been killing me inside forever that I've never known how to deal with. And I've never felt like anybody loved me enough that they
Right.
would ever deal with that. I'm now married to you. I'm sitting with you. And I have to tell you this thing.
Penny, I want you to read this.
Yeah.
Whether people, but whether people were at the, like, actually there at his wedding, or whether he was just being paranoid about it, it was like I finally decided to settle down. I finally decided to have this moment and have this person that I could spend the rest of my life with. And if I don't tell her about these demons who are chasing me from my past, then I'm not going to be able to live with myself.
Yeah, but then it's. I know the movie circles around him, but it's like, her reaction to it. She laughs it off, which is appropriate in that scene. But then it's like, then he writes this unauthorized autobiography, and it's like, I want to see the aspect where she finally goes, you are nuts. You're out of your damn mind.
Yeah, but she was like some crazy ditzy lover.
Yeah, but I mean,
girl.
in real life, they do get a divorce, and his,
we're not talking about
right.
that.
I know, but it's like that's what I'm saying. Like the end just takes me out of it in a way where I'm not so sold on the movie, where I'm just like, oh yeah, this is worth.
But you were enjoying the movie up until then.
Right,
Okay.
I was.
So, guys, watch the first 2 hours of this movie. If you think Casey's right. I got two questions for you guys. We're going to wrap up in a second, but I got two. Just hit them real quick.
Right.
One, do you think that mom issues really do lead to everything? Like, is your entire life and person, you think it's that heavy for the mom? And the second thing is, well, this is kind of a two-parter. Is he a bad dude for putting this stuff on TV? I'm talking about the Gong Show, because he's at the Playboy Mansion, he follows this beautiful girl, and then she takes out his soul by just telling him like he's a bad person.
Right.
Not for killing people. She has no idea who this guy is.
No.
You put this stuff on television, polluting the masses. You're exposing people. You're embarrassing them. They're still people,
Right.
And this seems to get to him way more
Yes.
than these demons of
Well, that
killing.
cuts
you know what
to
I mean?
that cuts to his day-to-day core.
Yeah,
That's what it
because he is a
That's what
nice
makes a
guy and he
difference.
wants to entertain people. He likes his job.
Yeah, but then
Do you
he
think he's a
also
bad-
kills 33 people. So it's like, how nice of a guy can he really be?
Do you think Chuck Barris is a bad dude? If he was working for the CIA as an assassin for love of country,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. That's the thing.
imagine all 33 people had it coming.
I don't. I mean, who are we to really decide that a person should be killed? And even that aspect to me is always like a thing that's kind of questionable. Yes, a person's a monster; they're terrible. But it's in other places, in other parts of the world, they only give you jail for 21 years if you've murdered somebody, and then the goal is to get you back to being a productive member of society. Not like you're completely lost. So I don't know. I'm kind of lost on that aspect.
Okay, I want to ask you this question about the killing people thing. Okay, so you don't know whether he's good or bad for killing 33 people. but you're totally down with Noah being a part of killing the entirety of humanity.
That's a biblical story. That's a different.
I'd be giving you
context in the
so much
situation.
less crap if you hadn't given Noah a stream it.
I know.
But this one,
I understand that, but to me, Noah is kind of cool. Like
this
it's
is a blockbuster.
It's
okay.
It's you can't
No.
force it into the blockbuster section.
I understand what you're saying. To answer Dennis's question from
Yeah.
my
What do you think,
perspective,
Steven?
when it comes to the mother thing,
None of us can answer that. By the way. It's
No.
difficult.
Oh, I know. I just,
Yeah.
what do you think, though?
I don't think so, but I do think that the way that people are nurtured throughout their like young life,
Mm-hmm.
not just by their parents, but by society as a whole. So that's including like his teenage years,
Right.
his young adult, like 18 to 25 or whatever years. I think that informs on how people react later in life, much more specifically.
Actually, screw that. I changed my opinion on that. I think that when
Stream it? Yeah.
No, I don't. I don't think that. I think that when you are raised in that aspect, it does. I mean, think about people now. They go to therapy because of of how they were raised, and these are minor issues. It's like, oh, like my dad was this or my mom was that. I think about my life and how like my upbringing causes a lot of, it has a huge influence as to who I am now.
Yeah.
So for this kind of neglect or this kind of like disregard for him as a human being from an early age to cause him to disconnect and not really feel all that much remorse for killing people, then yes, I think those issues do cause somebody to become, become who they are. So
yeah. Well, and to go with your second question of is he a bad person for the TV that he created?
yeah.
Which is, it's a model we still see today with American Idol, even though, that's coming off the air. But
Yeah, I
that's
think
a huge
that,
part of shows nowadays is exposing people's idiocy and, embarrassing them, essentially.
No, yeah, and I think that like things like the Gong Show, they weren't it. I think that things like the Gong Show are more of a reflection of society as a whole than they are as being like. I don't think that the way that TV works, if people watch it, it stays on the air. There's a reason that
Right.
American Idol has gone for like 16 seasons or
Yes.
whatever. And so to me, it's not a matter of that he created television that he wasn't polluting the airwaves. He put out something and society accepted it enough and loved it enough that they polluted the airwaves.
It just lets us know that we're like our own vices, if exploited, can be exploited. You know what I mean? If we allow this kind of stuff to happen, so it's really like, all right, well, they're playing on this kind of thing, and these are like primal things that in a way we do enjoy. So it's sort of like, this is like, like American Idol and the Gong Show, these kinds of things are our new Coliseum, our new, place like that.
Our new arc.
No, it's not our new arc. I'm just saying, but that's what it is. That's what it comes down to.
Okay, so final thoughts. Steven, you're going to stick with the stream it.
I'm
right?
definitely going to sit between. I would almost say stream it for the cinematography of this movie, but
Yeah.
the
Right.
cinematography, the directing, the acting.
Which, some
everything,
people
I
said,
think
I read
is
somewhere that
gorgeous.
some people gave Clooney criticism for being, he basically just drew from the Coen brothers and Steven Soderbergh, who he'd worked with.
Well, follow your
extensively.
masters, man.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna, everyone's ripping off someone.
Right.
You might as well rip off the
Well,
best.
and also
you know?
he did an amazing job throughout the movie of like, as it progressed, the style changed. So there was this thing that was like, this is what the 50s looked like when it was on film,
Yeah.
and this is what the 60s looked like when it was on film, and this is what the 70s looked like when it was on
and you
film.
had cold New York City, changed to sunny California.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so the textures and everything like that he used, and the way that he directed that, I thought was one of the more brilliant kind of aspects of it. It also set a time period for any of the flashbacks where the moment that the style changed for a flashback, you understood exactly where you were.
Right.
Right.
The I would say, yeah. I mean, for a directorial debut, it was fantastic. The cinematography was amazing.
You like the cinematography?
I'm a big fan
The
of the
cinematography.
Cinnamon toastography?
Yeah, the directable.
All right, so I'm going to stick with stream it.
I'm
Casey,
s-
no chance of a change of mind?
No chance of change of mind. Fantastic movie.
You're a
All right.
terrible person.
Right. Well,
You're a horrible dude, man.
Right.
Okay, check us out on flicksbookclub.com. Find us
Also,
on
and
Twitter.
what's our movie for next week?
What's our movie for next week?
I'm excited to know what
The
your
pick for next week is I'm torn between. All right, here's the pick for next week. The Bounty.
The Bounty.
What's
The Bounty. I know, right?
what's that movie?
I think it's got like Anthony Hopkins, Liam Neeson, Mel Gibson, a bunch of like heavy hitters,
Right.
and it's in '84. And someone told me it's amazing.
A lot of heavy hitters.
But here's the thing, just a quick disclaimer to the audience though, because I'm a little unprepared. This was streaming last week. If in case it's not streaming, we'll watch The Blues Brothers, which I've never seen before, and I know for a fact is streaming.
How
But
there are so many movies you've never watched.
never seen Blues Brothers, man, and I want to watch The Bounty over it, right?
I've never seen it
You've
either.
never
You know what?
seen The
Screw
Blues
it.
Brothers?
No,
Yeah.
screw it. We're watching Blues Brothers then.
We're going
I'm changing
Blues
my
Brothers?
pick. We're going Blues Brothers. Watch The Blues Brothers for next week. I'm sorry, John, my buddy John. We'll watch The Bounty another time.
Shout outs to John.
You
Shout
guys
outs to John.
disgust me.
All right, everyone say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.